Roderigo accuses Iago of betraying him by helping Othello, who is the general of the Venetian army and a Moor, or person of African descent. Roderigo is interested in Desdemona, the daughter of a Venetian senator named Brabantio. Roderigo thinks that Iago has helped Othello escape with Desdemona to secretly elope. Iago tells Roderigo that that's crazy talk, because he hates Othello, most recently because Othello passed Iago over for a promotion in favor of a younger, less experienced man named Cassio. But, well, there's racism in there too. Iago wakes up Senator Brabantio to tell him that his daughter has run off with Othello in some fairly vulgar language. Brabantio interrupts the Duke of Venice's council of war to declare that the only way Desdemona would ever have run off with Othello was if he used magic to seduce her. Othello describes their courtship as entirely proper and based on him telling war stories. The Duke of Venice decides to bring in Desdemona to settle the matter, and she confirms that she really loves Othello and was definitely not coerced into marriage. Everyone gratefully moves back to the brewing battle between Venice and Cyprus, to which they intend to dispatch General Othello. After all these important people leave, Othello thanks Iago for his help with the escape. Iago convinces Roderigo not to give up on Desdemona yet and to fill his purse with gold. Then Iago tells the audience that he has even more reasons to hate Othello, namely that he thinks Othello doesn't deserve his rank, and he suspects that Othello may even have slept with his wife, Emilia. Also, not to simplify this, but also because he is racist. Othello wins the battle off stage and becomes in charge of Cyprus. He is joyfully reunited with Desdemona as well as Iago and Emilia. At the victory celebration, Iago convinces Cassio to drink until he is very drunk indeed, and then convinces Roderigo to pick a fight with Cassio. Montano and other soldiers have to pull Cassio off Roderigo, which causes so much ruckus that Othello is forced to leave his wedding night to calm everyone down. In anger, Othello strips Cassio of his new rank of lieutenant. Iago sympathizes with a distraught Cassio and suggests that while Othello is too angry to hear reason now, Cassio could appeal to Desdemona to plead for him, since Othello will give her anything she asks. Iago crows to the audience that he will use this against Desdemona by suggesting to Othello that she pleads for Cassio because she is in love with him. Cassio meets with the ladies, and Desdemona promises to advocate spiritedly on his behalf. At first, it seems to work, and Othello agrees to meet with Cassio, but when the ladies leave, Iago acts cagey for a while until Othello finally tells him to just say his suspicion, and Iago says he thinks Cassio might be in love with Desdemona. He advises Othello to watch his wife carefully when Cassio is around, and reminds him that Desdemona fooled her beloved father very easily. Desdemona drops her handkerchief as she goes to dinner with Othello, and Emilia is happy because her husband has asked her to steal this handkerchief, and so she gives it to Iago. Iago, in turn, drops it where Cassio picks it up. Othello comes in wanting proof, not just suspicions, so Iago tells Othello that he heard Cassio talking in his sleep about being with Desdemona in secret. This is enough to convince Othello, and he has Iago promise to kill Cassio within the next few days, then promotes him to lieutenant. Desdemona starts to worry about her missing handkerchief. Othello enters and is not doing well. He asks Desdemona to lend him the handkerchief he gave her. When she can't, he goes on about how it's a family heirloom that is perhaps magic, and uses the story as an excuse to make a huge deal out of its absence. Desdemona is upset by her husband's erratic behavior and searches frantically for the handkerchief as Emilia looks on. Iago and Cassio arrive, and Desdemona tells Cassio she probably isn't the best advocate right now because Othello is strangely mad at her. Emilia correctly intuits that it is jealousy. Cassio gives Bianca the handkerchief Iago passed to him and asks her to copy the pattern. Iago continues to wear down Othello's mental state until he collapses in a fit. Iago then has Othello hide so he will overhear a conversation in which Iago manipulates Cassio to make it sound like Cassio is mocking Desdemona for granting him sexual favors, when Cassio is really talking about Bianca. Bianca lends credence to this theory by storming in rage and throwing the handkerchief in his face, thinking that Cassio is cheating on her. Lodovico and his train enter with Desdemona to bring Othello news from Venice. Lodovico asks after Cassio, and Desdemona starts to praise Cassio, so Othello strikes her in front of everyone. Everyone is shocked. Othello tries to get information about how Desdemona and Cassio are meeting from Emilia, who immediately tells him that he is being crazy, but he doesn't want to hear it. Othello makes it clear to Desdemona that he suspects her of being a whore. Yes, he uses that word with his wife. Desdemona is horrified and confused. Desdemona tells Emilia what happened. Emilia is angry. Iago comes in and hears Emilia's theory that some man is whispering false rumors into Othello's ear, and Iago tells her harshly to stop talking nonsense. Roderigo has finally figured out that Iago is just taking his money without helping him, but Iago manages to talk his way out of it by redirecting Roderigo's rage to Cassio. Roderigo attacks Cassio in the dark with Iago standing by. They both manage to wound but not kill the other, so in the confusion, Iago kills Roderigo himself. Othello leaves Cassio for dead and goes to deal with Desdemona. Senators Lodovico and Gratiano, as well as Emilia, Bianca, and others, arrive to help Cassio. Then everyone spits on Bianca when Iago calls her a strumpet and suggests that it is all her fault somehow. In the meantime, Emilia helps Desdemona get ready for bed, and they both have really foreboding feelings about what's going on, to the point where Desdemona is singing songs about death. Desdemona declares that she would never cheat on Othello, even for the whole world. Emilia speaks eloquently in defense of all women, even those who would consider cheating, and suggests their husbands share blame if they do. This is not an opinion shared by Othello, who arrives to smother Desdemona so as not to mar her beauty in the act of homicide. He wakes her up so that she can pray for forgiveness before her death, and she pleads with him, but he murders her anyway. Emilia rushes in a rage, telling Othello that Desdemona was innocent and that he is a villain. Desdemona briefly revives long enough to claim that no one or she herself killed her, then collapses for good. Montano, the senators Iago, the wounded Cassio, and several others arrive to ask Othello to deal with the latest street brawl. Othello mentions as his proof of Desdemona's adultery the loss of the handkerchief, and Emilia figures out it was all her husband's doing. Iago tries to silence her, but she brings the truth about the handkerchief to light, so he kills her. In grief, Othello kills himself. The play ends with Cassio promising to torture a motive out of Iago, who refuses to explain himself.